Awesome. Welcome everyone to, I don't know what week we are in classes, but it feels like the first week all over again. So we're going to do introductions. And then, is this everyone? I have no idea who's supposed to be here. I thought there was supposed to be 5, so I'm excited that there are 5 people here. So we're going to take pictures at the end of class today. I'm Kirsten. I'm your teacher instructor person. Lori is the real teacher this week, or for this class. I'm the one who teaches it. So if you have any questions, as you've all probably figured out, let me know. I am a 4th year school psych doctoral student. I will hopefully graduate in the summer of 2016. That's my goal. Right, go ahead and say something. Your name and whatever else you want to say.
I'm Kenny Gaskin. I'm a junior. My major is elementary education, and I'm an RA here on campus.
My name's Gabby Huster, elementary ed major, and I think I just decided I'm going to do an ESL endorsement. So you're sure? Yeah. I'm Rachel. I'm a senior. I'm studying secondary English education with ESL and reading, and yeah.
Awesome.
I'm the old one here.
I'm Emily Yingling. I am a junior, and I'm an elementary ed major with an art minor.
I'm Catherine Martinez. I'm an elementary ed major. I'm a student.
All right. Well, welcome everyone to the new time slot, the much improved, because now there are more people here. We'll either meet in this room. I'm guessing it's going to be in this room, or we'll start meeting downstairs on the 5th floor. I'll let you know this week because we had to wait for a secretary to come back from sick leave before I could reserve the room. So today I have a mini lecture prepared. It is a total of 6 slides, including the title slide. And it's about the readings that we read. And then I figured I'd answer some questions if you have any left. Kind of same as always. Sound good? I don't have any fun in-class activities today. I'm so sorry. You're like, great, I can just relax. Totally check out. All right. So the point of the reading was not to learn about HPT. It was more about to learn to differentiate between quantitative and qualitative research. These slides will go up online, so no need to take copious amounts of notes. They also don't carry that much information. So quantitative methods, and this is the kind of the data gathering phase. They'll use surveys with closed-ended questions being single choice or multiple select or rank ordering or trying to think of other, but anything that you think of in a regular survey where you click, but you're done. They can also use surveys with open-ended questions, and they'll take those bits of information that how you respond, and they'll use pre-chosen categories, and so they just kind of let you pretend it's open-ended, but really they've already chosen what goes in which category afterwards. It's also, they'll use measures like, I'm trying to think of a good example. So measures of, oh, bless you.
Thank you.
They'll use like, for example, bless you.
Sorry.
So, like if they give an IQ test, or they'll give a measure of depression, like a depression inventory, personality inventory, or some types of those psychological batteries often. Or they'll use standardized tests. So are they not just called Iowa tests? Your ITBS, is that now Iowa tests? Anybody know?
I think so.
It's just Iowa tests now?
Yeah.
Okay. Because I knew it used to be Iowa Test of Basic Skills, and then it changed. So they'll take things that are mostly, it's all about the numbers. So they'll code their open-ended questions into predetermined categories, and then they'll use those categories as numbers and do a whole bunch bunch of fancy statistical analyses, usually with a program like SAS or SPSS. And we'll have someone coming some point in the semester to talk about SPSS. The other option is qualitative methods, and those are more word heavy. So it's your interviews, your observations, your focus groups, your open-ended questions and open-ended questions on surveys. Anything that you think of that would have a lot of that rich language in it is usually more qualitative in nature. So it's all about the words and having a thick description, a rich description. So whereas a qualitative analyses will be written up just like the process of here's what we found, number part, and may take 2 pages, you can have 15, 20, 30 pages to convey the same amount of qualitative information because you'll lift direct quotes and put it in there, or I don't know, it's just very verbally intense, so it takes up a lot more space. And then the themes are emergent. So say you give 10 interviews. First of all, you give your 10 interviews. They all get transcribed word for word, breath for breath, pause for pause. And then you read through them, and you read the first one, you're like, oh, these things kind of stuck out to me. And then you read the second one, oh, these ones stuck out with me. And you'll notice, oh, everybody keeps on talking about, I don't know, everybody keeps on talking about how wonderful reading is. Like they're really here because they want to learn to read in English. And that the best way that they learn to read in English is by reading to their children. So then you're like, oh, reading to children, that's a theme that I didn't expect. That kind of pops out. Whereas if you're doing quantitative, one of the things you predetermined is reading for children, click button number. There's also this beautiful thing called mixed methods research. So it is all about words and numbers, and in general it's taking qualitative and quantitative information or methods, and you're using both of them, and then you analyze using both kinds of methods. So it can be, and then within that you can have mixed method study where most of it is about the qualitative with a little bit of support from quantitative, or it's about the quantitative with some support from the qualitative, or it's an equal emphasis on both pieces. I am currently in a semester-long class about doing mixed methods research. So this is my very condensed version, because, I don't know, my dissertation will be mixed methods research, which is why I'm in that beautiful class right now. Any questions on the slides? I'm going to turn off the thing, and hopefully that'll make the buzzing noise go away. So, that is much better without that high-pitched squeal. So someone did ask about in reading the questions online, it seemed like there was a lot about qualitative, quantitative, when to mix them if you use one method then the other one. Man, I really must be super sensitive to sounds today. Now that's going to drive me bananas. But, and then something about timing of them. So mixed methods research can be more time intensive than just qualitative or just quantitative, depending. And it's just because you have to do you have to do a qualitative study and a quantitative study, and they both have to be high quality in order to have a good mixed methods study. So it is slightly more intense if you want to have high quality work all around. In terms of which one is more prestigious, someone asked about that. Quantitative for a longer time has been viewed as the gold standard, the better type of research because it's numbers, it's more like hard sciences, whereas qualitative is more of a soft science, being this psychology, et cetera, et cetera. Psychology, sociology, anthropology are more soft sciences, where the hard sciences are chemistry, biology, physics, etc. So quantitative was more prestigious. Qualitative is kind of, fields especially in the College of those that are housed within a College of Education are starting to warm up to qualitative and mixed methods, which is a newer type of research. I forget what else I was going to say on that topic. So, in terms of, someone asked a question, would it make more sense to use qualitative for our initial understanding, but quantitative when we're ready to recommend a final course of action to our research questions? And I think the way to think about qualitative and quantitative and mixed methods research, it's more of a lens. So you kind of choose your topic, you choose what you want to investigate, and then it will lead towards more one or the other. If you're going to be doing more self-reflective research or content analyses, or I'm trying to think of what else, action research, those kinds of things often lend themselves more to a qualitative spin because it is a smaller, because it's you and your experiences, or you and 3 people, or you and, so it's a smaller group. And for quantitative, in order for it to have any kind of power and be meaningful, it needs a large sample size. Most of the research that we see for hot feces is qualitative in nature. So, and that's because it's more feasible and whatnot. So there's not so much that we're thinking of this one in the beginning and then we're going to go to this. It's just an overall lens of qualitative as in I'm taking in word information and trying to make meaning from it. That doesn't mean you can't have numbers in there. Like, for example, you can still talk about, like, of our class of 30 students, 20% engaged in whatever. Like 20% were of high ability, 20% average, and 60% below average, or whatever those kinds of things are. It just means that qualitative means that you're most likely not doing fancy statistical analyses, whereas quantitative means that you're doing lots of fancy statistical analyses. Does that make sense? And sufficient time, someone asked about what sufficient time would be. I don't know what sufficient time is. Depends on the scale. I would say that going with either straight up quant or straight up qual study is probably in your best interest more than a mixed method study. This is a long question. It's the only one that I can identify who it came from. And it was yours, because it talked about yoga. Everyone else has, like, there's no identifying markings on it. And yes, as I said, I really like mixed methods research. But
Can I ask,
yes.
like, why, if a mixed method would make it stronger, like, why wouldn't everyone try to do a mixed method?
So mixed methods research makes some things, it's good for, like, initial exploratory research, because then you get the benefit of the numbers and the statistical outcomes, but you also get the benefit of the more in-depth understanding of what's going on. So whenever you're first entering, not you as, like, you the person, but whenever a field's exploring this new thing, it gets a lot more information, a lot greater depth, because qualitative and quantitative research both have their foibles, and so it kind of helps they help mask each other's weaknesses. But it's also not it's a newer way of doing research, a newer method, and it requires that you're competent in qualitative and quantitative aspects, which most researchers are, it's not necessary.
It's like a
Yeah.
lot of work.
It's a lot of work, and to have a good study, you need to be competent in both. And often especially in fields, there's preferences. Like hard sciences, they like numbers. They want numbers to get published. You need numbers. Even in the College of Education, there's education, measurement, and statistics. If you want to get published in some like a journal about, Iowa testing or whatever their journals are about, I don't know. But you need to have those numbers. You can't get published doing mixed methods or qualitative research because of the way the field's structured.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So, and sometimes numbers are better. So, say you're going to, here's a good example. So, developing a measure. Say you wanted to develop a measure of, I don't know, someone give me something. Tell me something you want to measure. Students' engagement in the classroom, all right? So we want to measure how engaged students are in the classroom. And we want to be able to have a paper and pencil form. So to come up with how we're going to measure it, you'll do a qualitative research because you don't have a measure in existence already. You don't have anything that you need. So you decide to talk to all the students, and they tell you, you ask them questions about, I don't know, what do you like most? What keeps you engaged the most? What gets you engaged the least? What times of day are you most engaged? Whatever you think would lead to student engagement factors. And this would be based on literature, which I have not read. And then from there, you sift through all their qualitative stuff. End of research project 1. Research project 2, you now have sifted through all that stuff. You've picked out the themes. You're starting to write questions. Throw it out to them. You say, fill this out, right? So they fill it out. Now you have numbers. And you say, how was that form? Was it good, bad, ugly, crappy, whatever? So that's your mixed methods, right? And now you have your measure semi-developed, and you have feedback from it. So then end of research project 2, beginning research project 3 is, they fill out the form again after you've edited it. You take that form and you compare it to other forms that measure engagement or mood or whatever other things and see if they work together. Whatever, now your measure is all done, it's validated, woohoo, now you are a millionaire, right? End of research project 3. So the way that it works is there are different times and places for different types of research methods, and they can all work together. It's just they don't always. If that makes sense. And a lot of it does depend on time or funding. Some studies will have government funding, or like the studies from the state about Common Core and why Common Core is great, or about Dibbles and why Dibbles was great, or whatever has been funded by the government, which means they have time and they have people and they have resources that you will not have for your thesis. And so where they can go and, visit 100 schools across the state, and sample, K through 6, all the students, is it something that's going to happen for you? Most likely. I'm sure there's a chance it could, but I've never seen it happen. So, questions about that? Wow, that was a super speedy lecture. All right, so we're going to do a not-so-fun activity, I'm thinking. So you have a mentor and you have a project idea, correct? You have neither. You have both. You have neither. And you have neither.
Yeah.
Okay. How about you two who have your things? I'll start with you, in fact, because I know that you're a little further, because you just came up with your idea. So why don't you share about what you're doing and whether you think it's qualitative or quantitative and why.
Okay, so we just kind of changed, and I'm working I go out to West Liberty every Thursday and tutor adult immigrant parents, and we're basically looking at now how the schools reach out to the parents and like what resources they have, and it's on me now, it's embarrassing. And camera shy. And basically, so like how the school's connecting with them, their motivation for coming, like we're making it a little bit broader now, their motivation for acquiring English and all of that. We're still kind of piecing it together, but we have a lot of different aspects that we want to cover, but mainly we're focusing now on like how the school is connecting with the parents and how they are, I don't know, basically just all that. So kind of like motivation's a little bit smaller, but still, and it's mainly through interviews and all that, so I guess that would be qualitative by nature, because we don't have all these numbers, statistics. We're basically going to be doing interviews, focus groups. We're planning on, since we're doing the summer, we're planning on going and talking to schools, teachers, and the parents as well. So
That's pretty awesome. What was it like to have your idea changed, or your research focus of your research changed?
I think it was inevitable because, I don't know, you have an idea, but then you kind of, once you're in it and you're doing it, you kind of realize different ways you can go about it and different aspects that you can consider. And especially when you are working with the people that you are working with and the community and everything. So at first I was really nervous because I thought this was going to be our question since like 6 months ago. But it's kind of nice to know that you do have the flexibility to change it, and you can make it even more tailored toward what you're interested in and directly relating it to the schools and all that.
Awesome. Kenny, why don't you talk about what you're doing? Oh, yeah. Oh, luckily he is still in the frame. Can you believe it?
I'm working with Renita Schmidt. She teaches lit here, and my nephew visits my family every summer, so I'm really interested in children's literature. I read to him sometimes when he comes, so I want to make a text set. That's like my rationale for this whole activity, and I'm pretty sure it'll be more qualitative than quantitative. Like I'll build a set, ask him what he likes, do some surveys and just some discussion maybe. Also interview he and his parents to see what they think about the progress we're making and things like that. And yeah, I think that's pretty much it. Nita's gonna like kind of guide me through it to see like different strategies for measuring progress or like different interests of my nephew. So
I'm super jazzed. All right, awesome. How about I'll turn it to you, ladies. You talk about what. Man, this thing is a little jerky. Maybe I'll even move it down here so I can get a better angle. Do you feel relieved over there?
Yeah.
And now you're kind of crooked anyway. So why don't you ladies talk about what you were thinking about doing, but if you think it's going to be more qualitative or quantitative, or what you would like it to be in your ideal world.
Okay.
Whatever you want. Just talk.
My ideal world. I would want to do a study on like children's yoga and how it can impact their performance in school, like academic and socially. And maybe I think it'd be really interesting working like with ADD or ADHD kids specifically, and see if I don't know. It would definitely be more qualitative than quantitative. Probably by like interviewing kids, and yeah, I don't have a mentor. And that's about it.
Awesome.
Okay, mine is really broad, but I'm just really interested in learning more about dual language and how that affects English acquisition. I'm pretty sure mine would be qualitative, but I would like quantitative just to have that number aspect and make it a stronger piece. But maybe for the time purpose, I'll just stay qualitative.
Gabby, do you feel left out?
Not really.
Okay. Would you like to talk, or should I? I realize I didn't talk about my research at all.
You can talk about yours.
Okay. I know you guys didn't hear enough last week. It's my new way of turning the camera, just to pick the whole tripod up. Don't have very good cameraman skills, especially since that one looks like it got ran over. It does. It's all dented and bent. So I realized, I forgot to tell you. So my dissertation is going to be a mixed method dissertation. It will be, I'm in the process of figuring out exactly what I'm doing, much to my mentor's chagrin. She would like it if I don't know, had a chapter written by now, but I don't. So I'm going to I'll start, and I really did not want to do mixed method research because I knew it was a lot of work. I really wanted to do quantitative research because in my mind it is less work. Unfortunately, the topic that I chose, homeschooling, it doesn't work well doing just straight up quantitative studies. Because you never get a representative sample, and then the idea of quantitative, I forgot to mention this earlier, the idea of quantitative research is for it to be generalizable. So I give a survey to all the people, homeschoolers in Iowa, and now it is representative of homeschooling in Iowa, right? But instead I send it out to all the homeschoolers in Iowa. I don't know if it's just the people who are homeschooling for religious reasons, or just the people who are homeschooling because of their philosophy, or I don't know who's filling it out. And maybe that's really not a representative sample because all the people who are unschooling don't have internet access, so now they haven't been able to answer my survey. Or my survey form doesn't fit, so whatever. So I can't do a quantitative study because it won't be representative of the population I want it to represent. I don't like qualitative work. It's just my personal preference, so there was no chance I was going to do just a qualitative study, because then I get annoyed because most homeschooling research is qualitative in nature. And it's, these 4 families living in, my favorite one is 4 families living in small town in Kansas. All right, and then there's another one that these 4 families living in Ohio, and these 4 families living in California or whatever. And so you get like little snapshots about homeschooling, but none of it's really generalizable or can be extrapolated to other states or other communities or anything like that. And that's just my bias because I really like quantitative research and I want everything to generalize. So I have to do a mixed method study because there's a lot of stuff not known about homeschoolers. So I'm going to send an internet questionnaire survey form out that has closed and open-ended questions out to all. Did this one light shit off? Awesome. So all families who use homeschool assistance programs in Iowa, right? So that's where I'm going to get my quantitative data from, is how, whatever. And I'm going to inquire about why parents chose HACCPs, why they choose the HACCPs they chose, and a whole bunch of other factors, right? From there, I'm going to pull a few families, hopefully a few from Iowa City, in the Iowa City HACCP, a few in the Marion HACCP, and a few in the Mid-Prairie HACCP, right? And then I'm going to interview them so I can get more in-depth reason behind why they're doing what they're doing and how they chose the HACCP they chose, and et cetera, et cetera. So that's so now I've gathered I've gathered information quantitatively and qualitatively, and then I'm going to analyze it in quantitative and qualitative methods respectively, and then at the end I'm going to compare, contrast if what I got was what I thought I'd get, and blah, 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 blah. ta-da, the end. But I have this year and next year to, write it up and do the research and the data gathering, etc. And then I have another year to write up just the results section. So I have more time than you have, and it's supposed to be a bigger project than yours is, so that's why mixed method research works for this instance. Make sense? All right. I'm thinking, does anybody have any questions at this point about quantitative, qualitative? Does anybody have any questions about anything else? All right, I think it is time to turn off the camera, stop recording, and do our little photo thing and let you guys go early. Anybody have a problem with that? Do you feel like you are getting gypped? All right, awesome.